Welcome back, Kingdom Warriors, to another raw, real, and spirit-led episode of Christian Authors by Marilyn Jean Designs. I'm your host, Gina Stockdall, and we are going to be sharing bold stories of breakthrough, transformation, and God's goodness in the mess of life. Y'all, you better get ready because this is going to be a powerful episode. This is not just another episode, though. This is a testimony of pain turned into purpose, lost turned into legacy, and sorrow that is transformed into supernatural strength. My guest today is Mae Renfroe, wife, mama of 10 beautiful children. She's an author, speaker, hope giver, and a warrior woman of faith. Mae has unfortunately faced most of things that most of us would pray to never have to face in our lives, and she lost her 14-year-old son. Yet she sits here today, clothed in strength, with this kind of peace that can only come from the King of Kings. She's written not one, but two incredible books that we'll be discussing today called Holding On to Hope and More Than a Mother. She's also the founder of Grieving with Hope. Mae, welcome to the show. It is an honor to have you here today.
Hello, Gina. I'm excited to be here. And I just love every opportunity that I get to talk about, my walk in the Lord, motherhood, and even the hard season of our life.
So before we dive right in, your story is very rich and full of God's fingerprints all over the place, but you've definitely been through the fire, yet here you are shining. So where were you spiritually and emotionally before the storm, quote unquote, hit?
I had a good faith in the Lord, a big strong, I was going to say deep, but it's really become deep now, really grown, but it's been a secure faith and a relationship. And that's really where it's about. And that's why I really try to encourage women. It's in relationships, not knowing about God and going to church and reading your Bible and all these things that are good things that should be growing us in our faith. But if we don't really have that connection, personal connection, relationship with God, where he's just our constant help and our rock and our strength and like a peace when things hit, then we're going to be really, hit hard and really, really turned upside down for a while when things hit, if we just are not secure. But so with my faith, I just really stood on the fact that God was with me and things don't just happen. That's what I felt. And especially again in death too. I don't think death just happens. Death is in God's hands, right? Accidents maybe happen, injuries happen, and these things, but God doesn't just allow a death unless it's a person's time to go. And so I just had that peace and just assurance that, that somehow God allowed this and it was meant to be, and it's going to be okay. It doesn't look okay. It doesn't feel okay. Yeah, I guess I had that and just knew that God was in control, ultimate control.
Yeah.
All things. Mm-hmm.
So what was your life like before 2017?
Wow, well, we were just had a good little happy family and quite carefree, right?
Yeah.
Everything was really going along fine, really trying to raise our children for the Lord, the best, how, so how we had our eighth baby, January of 2017. Then this losing our son was April 2017. So we welcomed our eighth baby in January 18th. And life was going good. We lived in a farm life with our kids and homeschooling and everything. And I with our eighth baby, I did think she was going to have difficulties. The doctor said there was something going on with sonograms showing something on her brain or something that she might have Dandy Walker malformation syndrome, something like that, quite a long name. And she does, I guess, have effects from that, but not as bad as he thought. So that was one thing that was whoa, okay, what now? we're not used to kind of walking through anything really difficult. It's funny, really trusting in God. It's funny, we say we trust in God, that it's whoa, I'm not used to this. Now what? Right. But as it turned out, no, she was born. We even thought we'd have to be out in the big city hospital, but they said, oh no, our small town will be fine. No, she'll be okay when she's born. And sure enough, there is some things, I think, slower walking and talking and these things, but no problems. And so our world was so everything was going good.
Right. No, and that sounds good. I actually had my first baby in 2017, so I can relate. My oldest was born in October of 2017, and he was healthy, fine until he's about 18 months old. And then he had to be life flighted to Kansas City because we were living in a rural area at the time. So I can understand and empathize on those curveballs that life likes to throw at you every once in a while. And so I'm going to kind of start heavy because I know that this topic will lead into your books, and then it also leads into your mission. But the day that your son passed, as sacred and tender as this topic is, what would you want listeners to understand about that moment?
Wow. You mean, so understand as in?
I mean, I don't know how I guess I want to word that. Like, you know, I'm a mom of 2 boys, and when I was reading your intake form, like it's hard for me to imagine. Maybe like walk us through like how, as a mom, like how did that impact you? How that make you feel?
Yeah. Okay. So kind of explain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hit me. So yeah, April 17th. So that day started of 2017. Just started like normal for us. My husband was away, was helping somebody with something project, and I had the other children busy schooling. What I did have one in public school at the time because, like I said, we were having the baby he was a little difficult teaching, and I thought I put him in public school that year because we had the baby coming in January. Didn't know if we were going to have a lot of extra doctor's appointments with her. And it's like, I don't know if I can handle this. So one in school, and the other children, and busy doing school and everything. And this one, Clayton, our 14-year-old son, and he was just so good at school, so efficient. And we get done, and he had extra time on his hands. He was really counting on that other brother to come home from school in the afternoon because they were the ones that did everything together. Like everything, because they love the outdoor stuff. Now the older son did that because the 8 children. The oldest was 16, and then the son Clayton was 14, then 12, and then on down to the new baby. And the 6-year-old liked more indoor things, so he wasn't the comrade as the other one was to outdoor and in like 4-wheeler or dirt bike kind of things. And so after lunch, then I was working on my little booklet, which we'll be talking about later. Encourage mothers. I was in the middle of that project actually, and he'd been out looking for things to do. And then came in and said, Mom, I'm going to be going over by the dugout and look for ducks. I'm like, okay, so we'll see you later. So glad that he'd found something to do. And then that was the last time that I'd seen him. He went on out, and I didn't know he was using the 4-wheeler. These things weren't, we had them that it was kind of to get to point A to point B, not a rip around toy. And he didn't do that either. So I didn't know he was using that, right? Really, I didn't hear it start up and go out. But later when we found him, he was pinned under the 4-wheeler and apparently got on a wrong angle. So he was by himself. So we're left to like, okay, how did this, what happened exactly on this little hill? Because it is just a little hill. It's from a dugout. So like a pond thing, and it's created from digging that, and it's really not that much of a hill. Like I'm just like, how? Like my brothers ripped around on these things on bigger hills than this, like, and they're all alive, still. So how did this? But that's another thing then that I went back to. It was his time to go. Like it was his. That's all I can really chalk that up to. And then just getting on a wrong angle. And these things are like dangerous. They're not toys. And they're heavy, and they're maybe awkward, and you get on a bit of an angle, it's enough to tip it. And then when it does, it'll roll. And so we found it rolled over on him. And he was passed away. So it's just the instant say of one moment here. And it was a while before we found him, I think a couple of hours, but just because we weren't aware, like I didn't know to be concerned. Why would I be concerned? He's a big old boy. He's doing his thing. And there was just no reason for that.
Well, that's just farm life, really. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like I've grown up all over the place, but I live in the city now, but I can't tell you how many times we've taken, 4-wheelers or what have you, all over my friends' farms. So I mean, I can realize that, you think something was wrong.
Yeah, no, I never would have thought that. So it was over on, but but in reality, so it could happen very quickly. I mean, it could have really happened within how many minutes of leaving the house. Even I don't know. The autopsy showed that he had died of a broken neck and a broken back with little to no trauma. And so that means it was very quickly. And that I really got some peace from that. I have to tell you, man, the world is flipped upside down in a moment. Here, one moment, I'm wishing them well. See you later, and everything. He's well, healthy, happy, and then just gone. But we were reassured, that reassurance that he wasn't suffering long. He wasn't wondering why we're not coming. He wasn't all these things. I just think he was just here and then gone. And so, I mean, in a second, where our world is going to flip upside down, everything's changed, but not flipped upside down in the way that I had no hope, that I had no peace, that I had no, and so it still was, I don't know how else to explain it. Do you have any other questions to help explain? It was just, suddenly our lives are changed. We're not this, little happy family. Everything's great. Suddenly it's not great, but yet we didn't lose our hope. And it was hard. I mean, we're going through all, it's extremely hard to lose a child. The hardest thing we've ever been through. And it was really extremely hard on my husband, because he was one of them that went out. And just I think taking maybe some of the load at why did we, like you said, it's common though for people to have four-wheelers, but it's why in the world did we have this? Why all this stuff? And he actually was out there along with my other son to lift it off of him and to try to give him CPR and try to, no, you're not gone. No, this didn't happen. And he took a load that I didn't take,
I think a lot of husbands would too. Especially, at least I think my husband definitely would with our boys. It's we shouldn't have had these in the first place, or whatever. All the what ifs would kind of pop in, because like I said, I have two boys, they're 7 and almost 5. And so when I was reading through your intake and I was preparing for this episode, I can't even imagine the pain that you guys felt, because like you said, there's nothing like losing your child. I mean, that's a literal piece of your heart that's walking the earth, right? And so to me, it speaks volumes that you still said yes to God, that you still had hope in him. So what did it look like to surrender, because I have a feeling that he was leading you somewhere after this, obviously. And this was one of your deepest valleys. So what did it look like possibly whenever you realized that you have to surrender to him during all of this pain? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know if that's where I would be mentally, spiritually.
Well, I've learned a lot more, I think, about the heart of God than I did then. And so even though it really hit, now I realize the more I read in the Bible, he didn't promise that thing was going to be always good. John 16:33, he said, "In me you'll have peace. In this world you will have trouble. You will have, the troubles and trials and things, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world." And so I've gotten to really just see more of he is he really, really, he really loves us, really cares for us. He's with us in every detail in a moment, but he's there. He wants our hearts, and he wants us to learn more of him and to grow in him and relationship with him. And I maybe didn't realize all that until later. And but I knew he was good. And so one of the first things, I hope this doesn't sound confusing. And now I'm going the fact that I just really clung to what I knew about him, that he was good. And so I just started thanking him. I was like, God, you're good. God, you're with us. God, and this is right after I'm finding out that, I prayed for life again for our son. I'm at the house, praying for life. Well, they're out there full-wheeler ways across the woods, praying for life again. But even if, even not, I know you're with us, and this is, you've got a plan, you've got a purpose, and he'd be here if he was meant to be here. And so I just stood and I'm just like, God, I know you're good. I just thank you, God. And I really felt that. And when days forward, that's the only thing that kept me going was that talking, communing with God. And I've never had that much communion with God before, that much, where it was just, yeah, I'm just like talking with God, and he's just like right there saying, I've got you. I felt the peace that I've never had before. Like I've never really felt the peace. I can't describe it. It's like Philippians 4, is it 4, 6, or 7, what talks about that peace that surpasses all human understanding, right? You can't put your finger on, explain that peace that he gives us. And so I just really stood on the fact that, I knew he's good. I knew he's in control, and just kept praising him and thanking him. And that thanking him is powerful. It's just in all things to give thanks, not just when things are going good. And you don't have to thank him for your loss, but you just thank him for everything else, everything surrounding. When I thanked him that he didn't suffer long. I thanked him for that. I thanked God that there was no little siblings with him. It's just so thankful. So many things to be thankful for, that the more I did that, the more it just, lifted my spirits and really just gave me a hope for the future, knowing that it would be okay. I don't know how, but, and I kept wondering, like, what is life going to look like now? What are we going to do? Like, we've lost the sun, like we've never navigated something like this before. How is life going to be? How is other people maybe going to view us or see us or so many things? But what I've really found out, and I try to encourage others, you really got to stand on what you know about God and get in the Word and have a foundation as much as you can before something happens, so that you can fall back and say that I know you're good, God. You're good. You said things would happen, and so I'm not, blaming you. I'm not thinking that you're not keeping your word, because you said things would happen. This is life. Things happen, but you're with us. You said you promised you'd always be with us. You'd never leave us nor forsake us. And I know you were good. You were good when everything was good. So you're still good now. You don't change. We really have to stand on that. What we believe about God is really going to affect everything that happens in our life. Is like going to really, if we believe God is good, then we know that when things happen, that he's going to work that out, right? That there's a reason, there's a purpose. He's going to redeem or restore, or something that's going to come out of it. One of the prayers that I was praying instantly too was, Lord, if there's anyone that knows us that doesn't know you, may this be their moment. And I felt the Holy Spirit kind of just giving that to me. I just kept repeating it right after the next day in the first surrounding days and weeks. I was, Lord, if there's anyone that knows us that don't know you, may this be their moment. I felt somehow that God was going to give life, like somehow they would see him in our story.
Yeah. Well, during that, which I can absolutely see, like I said, I've never lost a child, but like I've lost family members. I've gone through grief, and I can understand and empathize on leaning on him, because I didn't know what else to lean on during those times. So how did holding on to hope, your book, come to life? Like, was it healing for you to write it?
Absolutely, it was healing. And actually the starting of the writing happened just within days and weeks, because it is cut from my blog. So the book, had a blog. Yeah. So it was blog entries, and that's what made the book. So it's 4 years of blog entries. Yeah. And I started writing these. The first one, is titled. So in the book is titled, the date, April 19th, 2017, losing Clayton. And so it's detailed, the whole kind of I shared here, but maybe more detailed. And then the next entry, I would have to look, but I think maybe just a week later or so on. So I would blog whenever I could. I would get my laptop out and share what I went through that day. And if you're going through something like this, here is some hope for you. I don't know what you're going through, but I know God is good, and I know he will see you through this, or there's a purpose in this. And I would try to encourage others. Now, I didn't have a big blog audience, but when I wrote this, I would write like I was talking to who knows who. I was just like, this is what I'm going through. And so that's what it is like things that and so it was healing, because I would get on there and write these, and it was like I was helping someone. I'm like, I'm helping you. Wherever you are in your journey, whatever you're going through, this scripture helped me. This quote helped me. There's lots of quotes in there. I had a conversation with my mom today, and this or whatever. And I just really was raw and real. And I wanted to relate to a variety of things too. So when I would write, it wasn't just like in your loss and in your grief, but it was kind of like whatever you're going through. know that God is good and he's watching over you and he, doesn't make mistakes. And so that's it was definitely healing. So after 4 years, then I felt it was finally time to get together. I wanted someone else actually to write my story. I was trying to get a ghostwriter to do. I wanted someone else to do it, but I didn't. I contacted a few people, and neither was out of my price range, or just one other company. I was they didn't do that, and so finally it seemed right that I just ended up doing it myself and put it together, which I think was good. God has his.
Oh yeah, he has his ways for sure.
So
when you said you were writing the blog, you said that you're kind of writing it for whoever's out there. But whenever you finally put it kind of into a book, did you have like an imagined person that like you were writing that for, or is it still kind of more like whoever needs this, it's now available?
Yeah, it's for all the people that are having a hard time seeing hope in their story. They're having a hard time finding the purpose or the why would God, who is good, allow these things to happen. And so it's kind of from that, that whatever you're going through, that, he's still good, and not to lose your hope. We often say, we lost my son, but I didn't lose my hope. Like, don't throw in the towel, whatever it is, keep holding on to hope, keep trusting God, keep leaning in, staying in, getting up, keep doing what you're doing, and just keep choosing joy and to be thankful. And so those kind of things, it's just, I want it to be on a variety of things for whoever, just encouragement to not to give up, that he is with you always.
That's a really important message too, because I think a lot of us, I know I shouldn't speak for everybody, for myself, I forget that a lot. Right. When I'm going through stuff, like I have to sit down and the Holy Spirit has to lead me to a Bible verse and I'm reading it to kind of remind me, like, it's okay. We got this, I'm also a very type A worrywart, so that doesn't really help. But my thing is, like, I kind of back up just a little bit, because you were saying that you were writing more than a mother, kind of like before and during this grief journey. What inspired you to write more than a mother?
To encourage mothers, because in the role of motherhood, because motherhood is hard.
It is.
And at that point, I had 8 children. I knew how hard it was, of different things I went through with me mothering so far with my children, and just seasons was just hard, like just feel like I can't do this, or I can't do it right, because I'm losing my patience. I'm sometimes correcting out of the place of, anger. What can I say? Getting mad instead of doing it in a calm way, proactive way, or trying to prevent things from happening. It would become more like in responding in ways that I shouldn't. And it was just overwhelming, and I felt bad about mistakes I had made, and I really wanted to encourage other mothers, one thing, that it's not too late, and that God is your ever-present helper, and he is just so much more into this and loving your children than you can ever realize. And so he's your ever-present help. But then I got a lot of quotes and things from other sources, and I got permission to use a lot of quotes that this ministry, Above Ruby's ministry, had, and that is really, what I say, Above Ruby's ministry, that really helped me. And so quotes, and that's what this little booklet then really is about, is full of quotes. So it's not so much writings of mine, it's quotes, it's some scripture, and then I did write a couple of the poems or things in the back that actually reflect the fragility of life. Because I'm in the middle of putting it together. He passed away on April 19th. I really wanted this ready for Mother's Day. It's self-published, and so I was just doing the final editing, and I was like, if I could kind of get this out for Mother's Day. And I know it's really, really cutting it close to that, but that's what I wanted to do. So I was in the middle of working on that particular day, the day that I said, see you later, and I didn't see him again. And then the next day after that, we were supposed to be going on a dentist appointment, and I was going to take the laptop with me and do some final editing on the way. We have an hour drive to the dentist appointment. I'm like, I'm going to do some final then. It'll be ready to upload, ready to get it out there on Amazon. And then when that happened, I mean, everything stopped, dentist appointment, of course, the next day, everything stopped, and I didn't even want to go back to working. Sorry, on that book.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even want to go back to it for quite some time because that was the last thing that I was doing. That was the last thing that that's what I was kind of preoccupied on. When he comes in to say, Mom, I found something to do. I'm going to go look for ducks. And I just glanced up and said, see you later. And I know I wasn't bad in doing that because we have, us mothers do have right to do different things as long as we do put the priority right with our children. But it just hit me. I was like, I'm not going there. I can't touch that book for a while. So I didn't. And then in the right time, when God just kind of laid it on me, like, mothers still need that encouragement. They still need what they have. And so then I wrote a couple poems to go in there. That was later in the summer. A couple of, I don't know if you can call it a poem because I'm not a poem writer, but I maybe can just read a little part of one. Things came to me and I'm like, oh, I'll put that in there. And so then I finished, and I on the back, also in the back, it tells a bit about, it has a personal note from May, and I share what happened on April 19th. And then I said, at that time, I put that out. So maybe almost 2018 by that time. And I said that I know that I'm going to be writing a book on my story. I already know that. I'm blogging about my journey, and I know I'm going to do that. And so that's what's in the back. And that I just really wanted to encourage mothers, in their journey, that it's not easy, but it's worth every bit. It absolutely is. Yeah, it's the highest role. Yeah.
So, like I said, like my oldest is only 7, so I'm relatively still a new mom, right? Especially new to homeschooling. This is only gonna be our 3rd year. My oldest is going into 2nd grade, and my youngest is going into kindergarten. Yeah. What do you think is one lie that you think the enemy tells us moms? And, especially whenever you're focusing on writing this book, because, I lean on my own mom and my mother-in-law and even my grandmothers when they were alive of like, all right, how do I do this? Am I doing this right? I tend to question myself a lot. And I don't think social media helps with that because there's constantly, mother should be doing this or mother should be doing that. And that's hard for me. And so I'm curious, as somebody who's written not 1, but 2 books to essentially help, moms or individuals that are parents, what do you think is like the number one lie the enemy tries to tell us when it comes to how difficult motherhood actually is?
Well, trying to do everything that there is out there to do, trying to get your children into every activity, every extra activity and all the things it doesn't hurt if you have time, but if you kind of look into what God wants us to teach our children, you'll see that it's pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
And even in homeschooling circles, it can get pretty bad for getting all your children into this and that. There's really a lot of things. When we belonged early on in our homeschooling journey. Yeah, I joined a homeschool group in our area, and it's really great for just meeting. And I would just do the park days, but the different things that the parents have their children in, I am like, how can you balance all that? Like, I can't, and then they had the co-op, and then they had, and then different sports and these different things. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, a person would run themselves ragged. So I didn't do all that. And I really think we need to really focus on, so that might be, it seems like that's the normal. That's what you're supposed to do. Your kid needs all these other things outside the home to be well balanced, well educated, or what do you want to call it, well prepared for everything in the world. And I don't think that's
true.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry. Go ahead. No, I think it's such a God thing that you're saying that, because like I said, I'm fairly new into the homeschooling circle, as this is going to be our 3rd full year. And I am that mom that is running myself into the ground. And like, we do a co-op, and the co-op that's here that we have found, it's an all-day co-op, and it's a traditional school setting, but it's at a church. And so essentially, my kids, in my opinion, are kind of getting the best of both worlds, because they get this like traditional school setting at a church with small classes essentially. But then and it's only 2 days a week. And then the rest of the week they're home with me. And so that also gives me a small break, because I get the house to myself. My husband's at work. I can actually breathe for a minute. But I do have them in sports and I do have them in church functions. And I feel like we have something every single day. And I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be more relaxed than what it is. So I do think it's a God thing that you mentioned that, because that's been something that's been on my mind as we enter this next school year.
Yes.
You know. So
Yeah.
thank you.
I can see though, I mean, how you want to be able to have these different things for your children, but you really, I guess, have to get your right priorities. Like, what do you really want for your children or something, or what is best for you and your husband and your home, and what does God think, and then to work from there. I mean, your home is going to look different than mine and everybody else's. That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But what's really important, and then just from that place, and maybe you can just find one activity or something for each of the children in a way that works. But if we try to do all that seems like is normal and natural, I mean, it's just, we can't do that. So that's one of the biggest things. So if I could read this little thing I've written in here in this booklet, it kind of talks on that.
Oh, please do.
Okay, it says the life of a mom is a busy one. Each new day we find at least 100 little things needing done. And at the end of the day, no time for it all, we found. But after it's all said and done, there's only a mere handful of things that's really important. These are feeding our children both physically and spiritually, giving them our love, attention, guidance, and correction. If we make these our top priorities, then all the rest will fall in place. We need stress over the little things, but only focus on the God things.
Oh, I love that.
I don't know, it's left maybe a little lacking yet, but it's from that okay, there's tons of things to do, but what's really important? Then at the end of the day, what really is going to mean something to them? What does God say? Are we giving them what is really important?
Yeah. No, I love that little reminder. You know, that's one thing that I was even talking about with a friend the other day at coffee, was like, I struggle so much with, like, okay, well, all this needs to get done today, but then it's unrealistic because I'm only one person. Yes. And that's a big thing that I'm like unlearning, is like the expectations that I put on myself.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so through that, I'm curious too, because like you started a whole ministry that's like Grieving with Hope. And so now, as we talk about being busy, I hear that you have, you know, children at home, that you are homeschooling, and that's a full-time job on itself. But then you've also written books, and now you started a ministry. And so what does that look like in practice? Like, how do they balance, try attempting to balance all of it?
Okay. Well, God has given me time to write these. I don't know how. So it's just, it's a miracle. He's gave me in the seasons, and a season for this. As far as the ministry you mentioned, I don't really have, like, it's just through, the ministry is through, say, the books I wrote, and then on the blog. I'm really not blogging. Everything is done video for me now. Even so, at the end of I said it was 4 years worth of blogging in that book, but actually during the end of those 4 years, I pretty much started just doing everything on YouTube. And so then there would be some encouragement I would write on there to go with that video, but it's like it was reduced what I was writing, because it's suddenly like, hey, I don't really have time for this as much. And then so I have the podcast where I have guests on my podcast, and so that's part of ministry. I have a grief group on Facebook, and so those different things, but they really don't. It's not like a full thing that really takes up maybe my time so much. It's just sporadic. I can kind of just do that whenever, in that way. And there's seasons for things. And so, you know, right now you've got all pretty much little. You said your oldest is 7. So, you know, you'll notice as they get older, you get more help, and then things that you maybe didn't have time for now, you'll maybe have time for later because they're older. And so you'll have different seasons where things work to have extra things to do. Suddenly seasons where I can't do anything extra. And that, I think that's the way I found it. And now, so with our 10 children, spread out from ages almost 25 to almost 3 is our youngest. I think he's our last, but I mean, I've left it in God's hands. So their oldest is been away. He kind of comes and goes, and then a son under him that kind of comes and goes right now. And then the then, I lost, the one we lost was in between. So he would have been probably about 23 now, and then 21. And then, so then a daughter, almost 18 and down from there. And, so how many do I have schooling? So she just graduated, the 17-year-old, so about 6. But yeah, with all that, I just have the help, and it just kind of looks different. We maybe are doing things a bit different than we used to do. And, really focusing a lot of their school becomes kind of, when they get older, what do they want to do in life? So suddenly, what are you hoping to get into? If they kind of know, we want to kind of focus it to that direction of things that they're wanting to do. And I mean, not just the regular full blown, all the books and trying to keep up with all the books and every page in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's look different.
I say we do something similar. Like right now, I've written a few books, and my oldest son is incredibly gifted in like reading and writing, and because he's 7 years old, but he can read it. He can read at an 8th grade level. And
that is a gift. That is special. Amazing.
There are days where I'm completely amazed, and then there's other days where I'm just like, if he ever learns, I don't know, like I think he's gonna be unstoppable, and that scares me a little. Like, okay, but no, like he's incredible. And so I was even asking him as we prepare for his 2nd grade year, like, what do you really want to focus on? And he goes, I want to focus on how to write a chapter book. All right. And so I ordered in. Do what?
I just said, wow.
Oh, yeah, no, we ordered in a few books that have like, here's your prompt, write a paragraph, or things like that. And then I ordered in a couple of books that talk about, like it breaks down into steps for him. And so we do focus on that. My youngest is only in kindergarten. And so when I asked him, he's so cute. He's like, I want to learn about bugs and animals. I'm like, cool, bro. And I actually found a kindergarten zoology thing that we're going to be working on. And so I do think that that's important to do that. I don't know. I grew up going to private schools, and I can't say that all of my interests were necessarily fostered. Not necessarily in a bad way. I love schooling, but my writing and my design, I didn't get any type of foster in that until I was in high school, and I got to go to like the college for like the career center to learn graphic design. And so that's one thing that I really wanted to focus on with my kids is, God is telling you what you want to learn. Like God created you to have the interests that you have. So like, let's lean into those a little. But, I think it's incredible that you homeschool all of your kiddos, but you're also helping, women through their grief journey as you can in between it. And on top of that, you're even honoring your son's memory by doing all of that. And so I have to commend you, because that's a strength that I don't know if I could have. That's a lot.
Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, this episode's not going to air till October. It is June now. But I do want to kind of touch on, before we wrap up, that you have a women's conference that you're putting together for October, correct?
Yes, and the first week in October, from 2nd to the 4th. Yes, I'm helping. I'm to organize that, kind of the co-host, and get to be the MC. And so, I'm really, really excited about just really helping women to make the most of that. And it's the theme is transforming trauma into triumph. So it's all, from going through some very difficult things in life, and just finding that restoration and healing in God. And our speakers, a lineup of speakers, they've been on my podcast. They've all been on my podcast now, and just the stories and the things they've been through, and how God has helped them and met them. And their stories are hard, some of them, and yet God redeemed and restored, and they're wanting to pour out to other women and help women in that where they are, and help like resolve things if you haven't healed. There could be things still in your past from your childhood that are still troubling you and tormenting you and making life difficult. And so they really want to mean that. So I get to help with that. And my daughters are going to be involved. The older daughters now at almost 18 and 15, and they're helping and just planning and doing all the graphic design and helping for that. And just, they'll be helping to decorate. And I think they
Awesome.
will be helping to sing there. So that's pretty amazing.
Aw, I love that you include the kids. Like, I think
Mhm.
that that's one of the best ways that we can show our kids how to be in ministry is just to include them. You know, my kids
Yeah.
tag along with me literally everywhere I go. You know, they're going to learn,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
all sorts of things. But I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that as that goes on. We're going to have you back on and probably after because I want to hear all about how that went and how it's going to go. But before we
Okay.
hop off here, where can people find your books?
Okay. On Amazon.
Both of them are Amazon.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will put a link to both in the episode description also to help make sure that everyone can easily find those. I definitely will be going and checking them out ASAP because they sound amazing. But Mae, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for showing us that grief doesn't necessarily have to disqualify us, but it can almost commission us, you know, as long as we're willing to listen.
For sure. And
Yeah.
to help us find that the purpose of what God has, and just to really, you know, you allowed this to happen. So there's got to be something in this. How
Mm-hmm.
can we utilize this for your glory? Because the enemy is not going to get this, you know, he's,
Mm.
you know, I bet, how do we help others, and how does this become, yeah, just something instrumental, I guess, in our life and for the better of others around us. Yeah.
I
Believe
think
it has an
one
opportunity.
I think one thing that I'm walking away with after a conversation is that like motherhood isn't, you know, I kind of knew this originally, but like motherhood's not a perfect little box. We don't all like it's not all the same. Not all of our journeys are going to be the same. They can also be like a battlefield, if like for the Lord, if we're willing to surrender. I mean, like you said, it's going to be hard. Like no one promised that motherhood's going to be easy. I just never realized how hard it was till I became a mom. To be honest.
Yeah. No,
You know.
I didn't know how hard it was either. I didn't know everything. I'm from a family of I'm the youngest of 9,
Oh,
and
okay.
now I'm the mother of 10. But I just, yeah, the whole thing, or just didn't know how it affects you kind of mentally with your mind, or just the things you're going to have to really battle, like, because we're really battle for our children, right? Like
Mhm.
in, you know, in the spiritual, you just so many issues, the heart issues, in their spiritual life, and it's a big
Mhm.
role. But we've, you know, we're equipped for the job, and guys, and thanks, you know, to God that He's our ready help, and He wants us
Right.
to be praying about it and pray for our children and be talking to them about God, and that helps to take care of a lot of those battles. I think.
Yes. I think that's probably the number one thing that's helpful, at least for myself. Um, you know, if you would have told me 10 years ago, before my husband and I even met, that I would be a homeschooling stay-at-home mom, essentially, a work from home mom, I suppose, but I probably would have laughed because I'm like, no, there's no way. But yeah,
Yeah,
here we are.
yeah,
Um, and I find peace in the fact of like, God knew that I was the mom that these 2 boys need, you
yeah,
know, and that's okay. Like that he did that on purpose,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And so one thing too is like, you know, hope is not just powerful, or it's not just possible, but it's powerful when Jesus is at the center of what we do.
Yes, absolutely.
So guys, go ahead and go grab Mae's books. Like I said, I'm going to put the links in the description for you guys. There is Holding On to Hope, and then More Than a Mother. And then go ahead and share this episode with somebody who is in the thick of it. And if you're anywhere near Texas as this episode airs, go ahead and look into the Transforming Trauma into Triumph conference. That's the right name, right? Transforming Trauma. Yeah, into conference.
Yeah.
There's lots of tea. I'm sorry, it is. I need more coffee, and there's a lot of teas going on there. But
Yes.
you know, God's going to move in your lives, guys. It's inevitable. You just have to let Him. So I really want to thank you very, very much for sharing your story. I know that it's hard, but I know that you're making a huge impact in God's kingdom by doing so.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, you know, for having me, and just for those words. And yeah, I pray that so much that He is going to use our story, continue to use it for His glory, and to give hope to someone else. Yes.
So until next time, guys, keep it real, keep it kingdom, and keep holding on to hope.